YouTube, what's going on? We're back with another Wuthering Waves. We're back with another Wuthering Waves video. Today, I am going over the best team comps. Now, I made a video like this when the game first came out. Some things have changed. New characters have come out, as well as there are some character kits that have been genuinely leaked that we'll cover towards the end. So I want to try to cover the basis of pretty much every single DPS and what their best teams are, or hypothetically what their best teams are with some of these new kits that we have learned. With this video, every 1,000 views, we're giving away 2 Welkins. You can either redeem it in Star Rail, Genshin, ZZZ, or Wuthering Waves. If it's Wuthering Waves, I probably got to send it to you via PayPal. All we got to do is within 7 days, it's going to go max up to 10K. So every 1K, we'll give away 2, maxing up to 10. 7 days from when this releases, join the Discord. I have a giveaway section in the Discord. Once 7 days past the release happens, I'll ping everyone. All you got to do is click enter, and we'll do a raffle on stream. With that being said, let's get right into it. Now, what I want to do first to make this fair and easy, I want to start off with completely 100% free-to-play teams first. Once we cover free-to-play teams first, you might see me reference back to another character, let's say like Encore, for example. Once I get to another support like Jiyan, who's not free-to-play, obviously. But I want to go completely free-to-play. And what I'm considering free-to-play is all the 4 stars they give you on top of all of the standard banner characters. So Verena, Calcharo, Danjin, Lingyan, those are technically free-to-play characters because you have your selector, the 5-star instant selector on top of the standard banner, and obviously the rover, right? So let's get right into it. Obviously, it's not a free-to-play team. So starting over the Havoc Rover, main DPS, the pretty much best team you're going to be looking at right here is going to be Sanhua with Baiji. There is genuinely perfect synergy here. It's perfect. It was perfect. Baiji is obviously going to give you the increase with the health and the damage for the 6 seconds. Sanhua is going to give you the 38% basic attack amplified by 14 seconds. Really, with the Rover's kit, he really is doing a bunch of basic attacks because when obviously before his Forte circuit is up, you have to do basic attacks to get it up. Obviously, you have the skill, but that's an 11-second cooldown. That's a lot. So you're going to be basic attacking quite a bit. And once you have the Forte circuit complete, you are still going to be doing basic attacks with your Forte circuit. So, you know, you would do your 4 attacks, or the 5, excuse me. You do the skill, bam. You get the Concierto energy, swap back to him, bam. Use the Forte, use your skill again, and basic attack galore. And then obviously, you know, you do his burst when you're at the end of the Forte circuit, and then you pop this, and it's just big PP damage numbers. So Sanhua is perfect synergy with Rover, and this is just honestly overall a very, very good team. Now, obviously, there's going to be better supports and better sub DPS that they're going to do more damage than Sanhua, but Sanhua is going to allow you to also get your Concerto energy up a bunch of times, which is going to eat up boss shields. And so that's another great thing. You know, you might not be doing as much damage with someone like Jiyan in this spot, but the fact that you're going to get so much swap in and outs with this character on top of swapping with these two, you're going to shred some boss stuff pretty quickly. Get into the other team that I like is Yanwu. This team's not going to do as much damage, but it's still valid. I like it. I just like it. And it's an option. It's an option. Why this team comp? Let's talk about it. The outro skills are really nothing too crazy in terms of the stats. One thing that I like to talk about off rip, the basics of team building in this game is DPS, which is Havoc Rover, your sub DPS, which is Yanwu, and then your healer / support, which you're using Baiji here. Now, sidebar, every team that we are discussing can easily be replaced. Baiji could be replaced with Verena or Danjin or vice versa, just so you know. But again, at this very moment, I'm going over strictly free to play, although those are considered that. So Baiji, Verena, or Danjin. So the outro skills aren't really anything too crazy. And then Yanwu's outro skill unleashes thunderbolts in the area centered around the skilled target, greatly reducing the vibration strength of the enemies upon impact. This is good. You're not getting like any type of extra havoc damage or anything like that. Like, for example, if you would with someone like Danjin, but it's still valid. The reason why Yanwu is viable is he has coordinated attacks. His Forte circuit, all the way at the bottom right here, is going to allow you to unleash coordinated attacks. So it says when Resident Skill Thunder Wedge hits a target with a coordinated attack, Yanwu gains 5 readiness. So he gets these coordinated attacks throughout his kit, and the coordinated attacks seem to be a pretty big part of the game, where you're using your main DPS, you're on field with him as much as possible. You use Yanwu to the point where you get your coordinated attacks active, you swap back, and then you get extra damage. So this is a very, very solid team because Havoc Rover, super easy to use, super easy to build, and realistically speaking, you do get Emerald of Genesis for free once you hit Uni level 45, which is their best in slot with sword at the moment. But the other great thing about Yanu is there are other sub DPSs that are going to do way more damage than this homie, right? We're going over strictly free-to-play means for the people who don't spend a dime, who don't buy Battle Pass, who have bad gacha luck. Eventually, we'll touch on the others' better supports. But what's really cool about him is eventually when you are rolling, if you get him C4, he becomes a shielder, which is gamers. MTashed here, and this changes everything. The shielding is really good. When casting Resonance Liberation Blazing Might, the on-field character will gain a shield up to 200% of Yanu's defense for 10 seconds. So that's pretty big. You want to stack defense on him as much as possible, and then you have him that C4, you get the shield, you pop your Resonance Liberation, get whatever you have to do to get your coordinated attacks, swap back to homie, and then just start doing a ton of DPS. So the rotation, really simple. Obviously, you know, you want to get your concerto up with Baiji, whatever. Swap to him. Do what you have to do. In a perfect world, you would like to ult as well, so you can have that shield, and then you swap back to the Rover. With Rover, the Forte circuit, you hold down the heavy attack, and then they go into an enhanced state where you can do more damage. When the Forte circuit's about to expire, you want to use your ult, R, and then hit after your ult, your Dreamless Q, your Dreamless Echo. And you're going to give out tons of damage, all for free. So, very solid team, and I would recommend building him. Especially, I really am a fan of Yanu. Even though a lot of people say he looks like a Discord mod. Ooh, kitten! You know what I'm saying? He's still a valid unit. He's very good, and we'll get into some other characters that he works with later. But, the next character I want to go over is Calcharo, Daddy Sephiroth. Man, Calcharo, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The rumor has it. We're getting that other 5-star Electro unit for free. So they're better than Calcharo. It's a free 5-star DPS unit that's better than Calcharo, and they go off of Resonance Liberation damage, at least based off the leaks. So, I wouldn't invest in him as much because, especially if we are getting a new 5-star DPS Electro that's going to completely outclass him. The new character seems to be a little bit more complicated than him, but I just want to give you a quick warning. You know, this is his best free-to-play team, but he might be gone soon. Just so you know, unless you really like him, you know, because he is sexy. I was going to say handsome and sexy at the same time. But anyways, back to non-spoilers. Calcharo, Sanhua, Baiji, Verena, or Janshin, whoever you want. Verena is always going to be the best in-slot support. It really depends on who you have, but always use Verena if you have Verena. Right now, obviously in TOA, you need 3 teams of 3. So you got to separate it, but Verena's going, and we'll go over that. So, how does this team work? Pretty much, again, Resonator, 19% of the attack. Verena is literally our version of Benny in Wuthering Waves. She's an attack scaling healer. And then all Resonators on nearby team have their damage amplified by 15 seconds for 30 seconds, which is massive. So, all of them, not just the one that they're swapping out with. What you do is you want to intro into Sanhua. You then get your Concerto energy up with Sanhua, so you do her, let me deploy the team. Ethan, you're so silly. Oh my god, you're such an amateur. Holy shit. So you want to Concerto in with her, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Do your heals, pop your bell, whatever you got to do. You then want to get your Concerto up with Sanhua. You know, do your normal attack. You get to the max charge. It takes 5, then you could do your skill, get a higher thing. Concerto into a Calcharo. Now, Sanhua's Concerto energy is going to give you a normal attack buff, 38% for how many seconds? Was it 15? Let's see. I don't remember the exact number. 14 seconds. Damn, I know my shit, baby. Oh my god. 14 seconds, 38% damage amplifier. This is good because of the fact that I don't know why people can't read and they tell me I'm wrong on this. Calcharo's Resonance Liberation, basic attack, Hans Roar. Calcharo performs up to 5 consecutive attacks, dealing electro damage considered as basic attack damage. When you are in his DPS mode, his ult, right? That's where you get the most DPS out of him. 5 of these hits are going to be electro damage, basic attack. Sanhua is buffing your basic attack, and you're going to get a massive buff from this. Now, what happens with Calcharo is his 5th attack. When Calcharo has 5 killing intent, you need 5 basic attacks to get killing intent, right? To get 5 of them. Is replaced with Heavy Attack Death Messenger. When casting Heavy Attack Death Messenger, consumes 5, and then is considered Resonance Liberation damage, and recovers Resonance energy. So Sanhua is helping you in the sense of get his Resonance Liberation up, right? So those 5 attacks are going to do normal attack damage, extra bonus, but then that charge attack, when he does that and he jumps up and down, that is considered heavy attack. But this is the best free-to-play team for him because, you know, you could use, let's say, someone like a Yang Yang for CC or energy restoration, but realistically, you really want more of that energy. Excuse me, you want more of that attack buff as opposed to the extra energy. You'll eventually get to energy with him, you know? If you're struggling with energy, you could always go for rolls as opposed to using a character just for that. So, this is the best free-to-play Calcharo team. The best free-to-play Encore team, there's 2. There's Rover, it's Jover, and then there's Sanhua, right? They're 2 very, very different play styles. Sanhua is pretty simple. Same thing, you intro, outro with whoever. Go to Sanhua, you do your 3, 4, 5, and then you skill. You get your max. Bam, you swap to Encore. Encore's whole kit revolves around normal attack damage. So that extra normal attack deepen is just perfect. And eventually, when Encore has her Forte circuit up completely, whether in her ult or normal, when you hold down her attack, it is going to do this charge state, as you'll see on the screen, and that enables you to swap back to Sanhua to start gaining more Concerto energy. And you just do a constant quick swaps, and it's pretty valid. It's a very solid team, and honestly, I really like it. The other free-to-play team is Havoc Rover, and it's still a quick swap team, but it's a bit different because as opposed to Sanhua, who's really here just to fill up your Concerto energy as much as possible and really enhance your Encore, both Encore and Havoc Rover are 2 main on-field DPSers, and their outro skills are not necessarily going to be buffing each other. They actually, I'm not going to say they clash, but they have no effects on each other at all, in the slightest. But the thing is, when you're doing that charge attack with, let's say, Encore, you can then swap out to the Rover, pop your Forte circuit, do your full rotation, do your burst, do your echo, swap back to Encore, get her thing up again, and then repeat. You know, get her Forte circuit full, do the charge, swap back to Rover, and now you're doing a repeat. And so, it's not the best team in the world, right? You know, like, there's teams that have better synergy like this one, but this team is not a bad one either. It's not bad at all, and it's a little unconventional because, as I said, the main mechanics is a main DPS, sub-DPS support, but you have main DPS and technically main DPS, and they're both acting as main/subs. So, keep that in mind. You can be creative with the teams, right? These are just my suggestions, but these are what really I truly believe are the best free-to-play teams. Now, I don't have Lingyan. Let's pretend Rover is Lingyan. Rover is Lingyan, Sanhua, and then Baiji or Verena, whichever, or Jianshu, whichever you want. She's gonna buff Lingyang's normal attacks. Lingyan goes off in normal attacks, and that's pretty much how deep that goes. And then, yeah, I mean, Jianshin, you could run Jianshin as a main DPS, but I don't. I really use her more. Oh, I don't really use her to begin with, right? Although I have to build her, right? I have to, unfortunately. She's really mainly a CC and shielder, so I really wouldn't really recommend using her as a main DPS. So, but those are the free-to-play teams, right? Let's get to some whale territory. Let's get to some territory where it's not really free-to-play, and you have to spend money, or you have to pull and have good luck. This is still one of the best teams in the game. Still one of the best teams in the game, and going into 1.2 with the information we have, I still believe this is going to be one of the best teams in the game. So, how does this work? Jiyan's ult is considered heavy attack damage, and Mortefi's outro skill gives you 38% heavy attack damage for 14 seconds. His ult is not going to take 14 seconds. It takes way less than that. He also gives coordinated attacks to Jiyan. So Jiyan is doing Jiyan is doing the heavy attack damage from his ult. The coordinated attack damage is getting that extra fusion damage, and then obviously if you have the Verena buff, even more of a buff, right? So overall, this is still a meta team. Now, you could run Alto here, because Alto is going to give you the arrow amplifier for 23%. I don't personally like it, but it is an option. That is another option. And you could run Yinlin here, just for more coordinated attacks, but her outro skill isn't really synergizing here. Because it says electro damage, which you don't do, and then resonance liberation damage amplified by 25%, which you're not really getting resonance liberation damage. You're really getting heavy attack damage. So Mort is really kind of married to Jiyan in this sense. This is pretty much going to be Jiyan's best team until they release a character who does something different and really goes to him. But I think Mort, that's what was Mort's purpose. So this is a go-to team. We get that. Let's spice it up a little bit. Let's go to Jinhsi. So Jinhsi's team is interesting. Let's talk about characters that are in the game, and then eventually get to characters that are not in the game that are going to really help. What I will say is we're getting to the point in the game where you don't have to stress. I mean, obviously building units is hard, right? So I'm not going to say that you will have 3 full teams or 3 already unless you're really lucky. But we are getting to the point where you don't really need to share units as much as you did at the beginning of the game to clear tower. What do I mean by that? So Jinhsi's a perfect example. One of Jinhsi's best supports is Yanwu. The way Jinhsi works, I dropped a guide on her. There's a guide on my YouTube for all these DPSs. Almost, I think all of them. But Jinhsi needs coordinated attacks to level up her forte. If you don't have coordinated attacks, you are going to do a substantially amount of less damage, I should say, because of this particularly. If we go to Forte Circuit, it says additional multiple per incandescent is 30.49%. You're getting a 30.49% extra buff to your Forte Circuit for each individual incandescence, and you could hold up to 50 individual incandescents. So if you wanted to run her with someone who doesn't do coordinated attacks, I'm not saying you can't, but you are absolutely stifling your damage in a massive way, which is where someone like Yanwu comes into play, who is completely free to play. You get 1 copy of him. You don't need C4 Yanwu, and he still gets his coordinated attacks, and he builds into Jinhsi perfectly. Another character, this is, again, another completely free-to-play team, but it just so happens to be really good as well, is Baiji. Now, Baiji is going to perform some coordinated attacks as well with her Resonance Liberation. Remnant entities follow the active team members. 1 stacks of remnant entities are automatically consumed to perform coordinated attacks every 2.5 seconds, dealing glacial damage on hit, while healing characters on the team. The other thing with Jinhsi is while she is C0, you want to have as many different elements as possible doing coordinated attacks, because that will increase your incandescent tenfold. So this team is very strong in the fact that you are going to get her incandescence, I'm not going to say instantly because it is a little bit of like a buffer, but you're going to get it very fast. If you ran Verena, who Verena is technically her best support, you know, it's going to be a little bit slower when it's just Verena. But these are both perfect. Now, obviously, their outro skills don't have the most synergy in the world. I mean, Baiji's is going to help because of the fact that she's still giving extra attack. You already know Yanwu's outro. But we're really here not for their outro skills, their synergy there. We're here for the coordinated attacks. Another very solid team, and technically their best in slot team at the moment, is Yinlan Verena. At the moment, we'll go to the future in a bit, but at the moment, Yinlan is perfect because now we know her outro is going to give the extra stuff here, but Yinlan gives 18 coordinated attacks. So you're pretty much, when you're on field with them, you are not going to not have your Concerto energy. It is pretty, if you're not getting your Concerto energy completely up with her, with Yinlan on the team, there's a problem. Because, again, that's 18 coordinated attacks. Like, it doesn't get easier than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very straightforward. You know? Intro into Verena. You do your Forte. You swap back. Bam. You get what you need to get. And then you got it. You just do a shit ton of damage with her. She's an absolute just unit, and she just nukes people. Now, you couldn't run Mortefi. I don't like Mortefi as much on this team. I think Mortefi should be married to Jiyan. If you have Jiyan, leave them separate. But Mortefi is an option here, Mortefi Verena. Another thing with Jinhsi that we do need to discuss is if you didn't want to use Verena, you could actually run Tauchi. Because Tauchi's outro skill 100% goes into Jinhsi. The incoming resonator has a resonant skill damage amplified by 38% for 14 seconds. I don't like Tauchi. I don't like their playstyle. I don't like their shields. I don't like whatever the case may be. But in this situation, you would really go Yinlan first. You would get your Forte Circuit, etc. with Yinlan. Then after that, you pop it. Bam. Do the rotations you need to do to get the Concerto energy up with her. And then swap in a Jinhsi and then do big PP damage numbers. So Tauchi is another viable option, but Although I don't like Tauchi, I like the fact that they're now introducing characters that give the other characters who weren't really as useful in 1.0, or I guess wasn't as meta, they're throwing them into the fray and say, hey, listen, you got this character. It's not an L. Here's why it's not an L. They are now pretty decent. And so this is still a very valid team. It's not my favorite, but 1000%. If you are comfortable with running without Verena and you feel like you don't need that attack buff, you would prefer that resonant skill buff, Tauchi's the way to go. Now, I'm going to get to some hypotheticals. If you don't want spoiler territory, fast forward a little bit. I'll leave a timestamp for it. This new character, we dropped a video on this new character's kit, Jinhsi. I don't remember how to pronounce her name, Jinhsi. This is going to be, at the moment, based on the leaked kit, this is going to be Jinhsi's best support. And the reason why this is going to be Jinhsi's best support is they do coordinated attacks, and their outro skill is going to increase the resonator skill damage by 20%. That's a lot, bro. Her resonator skill damage is already insane, and a lot of her kit revolves around that. And by you increasing this by 20%, on top of giving coordinated attacks, in my mind, shows me you are 100% made for this unit. You were literally created to make Jinhsi even more broken. So I'll tell you where Yinlin's going to pair later with someone besides Calcharo, which we'll get into a little bit of spoiler territories afterwards again. But that is the Jinhsi builds, and those are the Jinhsi teams, and they're pretty simple, pretty straightforward, I believe. Let me know if you have any questions. Now, Encore. Some not free-to-play options that we have here. One would be Yinlin. Yinlin's amazing. Yinlin Verena Encore is still very good. Again, not much synergy here because she's really mainly using normal attacks. However, her coordinated attacks being for 18 seconds are pretty crazy. Also, she has very solid on-field damage for herself, especially if you're running the electric set as opposed to Moonlit. So this is still a very solid team for Encore, and you can still do the hot swaps. My thoughts and opinion, this is not a spoiler because this kit is in the game. I believe Changli is going to slot into here. I think the other best in-slot character that's going to be in this team, based off of going Changli's kit, is going to be Changli with Encore. Strictly, one of the reasons why is the incoming Resonator has their fusion damage amplified by 20%, and the Resonator Liberation damage amplified by 25% for 10 seconds. So we're mainly looking at this fusion damage here, right? You're giving them an extra fusion damage buff to Encore, who obviously scales with fusion. And now Changli's rotations seem to be a bit longer than the normal sub DPS, but I do think she falls into the same category of Yulin, where they could be a really strong sub or a really strong main. And I think if you're running Changli, in my personal opinion, I believe you would still run them on a fusion set, and I think you would run them as a hot swap with this character. You could also swap Encore for, what's her name? The one that I don't like, Chixia, right? I wouldn't, but that's just an option, right? But I think I see this character, I see their kit, and I see what they buff, and I think it's going to be more of a hot swapping situation between both of them, where similar to Rover, but instead these two actually have synergy with each other. So this is a team that is very solid, along with that Encore team, right? Not much changes here. The rotations are still the same. Encore stuff is pretty basic. Now, Havoc Rover. Havoc Rover, Yinlin Verena. Yinlin Verena is, in my opinion, almost on the same level. I mean, really on the same level as something like a Mortefi in Verena or a Sanhua Verena, where it's magic. It's magic. Like, they give you two of the best. Well, you don't get it for free, unfortunately, but they give you her. She's one of the best 4-stars in the game for free, and you have the opportunity to get Verena for free. If you're just starting the game and you don't know who to pick, yeah, fucking pick Verena, bro. We have guides on all that other stuff, but pick fucking Verena. Anyways, this is very solid. Again, you're getting the coordinated attacks. They're allowing you to just do more damage. You Forte Circuit with Verena, swap back over here. You do your normal skill, Forte, normal them down, skill again to get your Forte Circuit up a little bit more. Once your Forte is about to run out, you burst. After you burst, hit Q. You do massive PP damage numbers, and it's just amazing. So another character is Danjin. Danjin is not free to play. And Danjin is a character that I love dear to my heart. I really want to solo the game with Danjin one day. I really do. Danjin is another special case where they're not really a sub, but they have the Havoc damage amplifier by 23% that goes into Havoc Rover. So you're using them to kind of feed into Havoc Rover's damage. And when Havoc Rover's on cooldown or whatever the case may be, you can swap back to Danjin and do a pretty decent amount of solo damage with Danjin. Obviously, the more cons you have, the more upgrades you'll get or whatnot. But Danjin is still a very, very, very solid unit. Eventually, I do believe we will get a Havoc buffer that will do that. But like someone like Tauchi isn't really good here. Another character, we just said Danjin as a sub. Danjin could be a main DPS. I love Danjin as a main DPS. She gives me Hu Tao vibes, especially the whole draining your health mechanic and charging. Pretty simple stuff. Danjin main DPS, Yinlin for coordinated strikes, Verena works here. You could even run more Teffy for coordinated strikes because of the fact that not only get the coordinated strikes, but you do need to do heavy attacks with Danjin. So Danjin here could either run Mort for the 30% heavy attack damage. You're not doing them as consistently as your normals, right? But it still works. Or you run Sanwa here for your normal attack damage, because you technically are going to be doing a bunch of normal attacks with their combo string. 3 normals, then 3 Es. 2 normals, then 2 Es, etc. So whichever way, you're probably going to wind up getting more DPS out of running more Teffy than Sanhua, due to the fact that he does have those coordinated strikes. But overall DPS uppage is probably going to be from Yinlin for sure, without a doubt. So that helps. This is still very good options. So that's a W. And again, Verena, Jianshan, Baiji, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's only 3 supports in the game. It's really not that deep. Calcharo. Calcharo's best in slot team is going to be Yinlin, Verena. You don't really get the Resonance Liberation buff from Yinlin, but you do get the electric buff of 20% from Yinlin, which is big. So obviously get the attack buff. Obviously get the attack buff from Verena, right? Attack, you buff into Verena, buff Verena into Yinlin, then Yinlin into Calcharo, you get the extra buff, and then Calcharo is going doing extra electric damage. I said extra electric damage, that's what his kit surrounds with. But as I said earlier, again, I'm not going to go back to the spoilers. If you want to hear what I thought about the spoilers or what I said about the spoilers before, that's go. But this is the other alternative Calcharo team. Other units really don't synergize with him as well as either Sanwa or Yinlin. Now Yinlin herself. The good thing about this is going to go into spoilers and leak territory. So if you don't want to be involved, skip forward. The thing about Yinlin is this other character right here that I'm going to pull up on the screen. I made a video on their kit. So if you want to watch that video, go check that out. It is up on the channel. Again, those kits are subject to change, but most of the times these kits are pretty much, they're pretty consistent. Zhengli Yao. Zhengli Yao is going to be, as of now, a Electro Gauntlet user. The thing about Zhengli Yao is if we look at Yinlin's outro, it gives a Resonance Liberation buff plus the Electro buff. This homie scales off of Resonance Liberation. Everything in its mom is Resonance Liberation. On God. Like this dude was literally created for Yinlin. I actually believe they nerfed a lot of the Calcharo Yinlin swaps tech because they knew this homie was coming. This is going to be, these two are going to be paired to the hip together. They're going to be paired together and they're going to go very well together. And it is just going to be absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. You know what I'm saying? So Yinlin, eventually you're going to put that homie in this slot, especially if he's a free character, right? We're going to take the free, you know what I'm saying? That's 100% going to be taken. So honestly, man, when you look at the game and you look at the state of what we have, you know, you have one team here. Let's just, for example, throw Calcharo here, right? And then you have another team. We'll throw Jianshan here, right? And then over here, we'll throw Jinhsi, Discord moderator Yanwu, and then we'll put in Baiji. And right now, these are a solid 3-team lineups. This guy's gonna get replaced, but this is a solid, like, hey, I gotta go into TOA, I need 3 teams, let's do it. Let's bang it out. You can mix and match the supports however way you want to. But, I mean, I'm just saying. And then, obviously, she's going to get some other help as well with who we discussed previously. But these are the main team comps. And I think these are going to really carry on for a while. Obviously, you can throw in, let's say, the Encore team comp here. You throw Encore, this would be Chang Li. Or you can make Changli your main DPS, and then Encore would be your sub, or Yinlin could be your sub. I mean, there's a bunch of mints of maxing, right? But these are really like the best, or these are the main ones that I'm seeing, and how I project the meta to continue going, or these are like what I think of the meta currently and how I see it going for the future, especially based on the kits that were leaked. That being said, let me know what you think. Let me know if you got any questions. I love you. Mwah. I'll see you in the next one.